I'm up there most mornings. And I was in there one day having my coffee. I can make a medium coffee last about 2 hours. And this nice lady came over to speak to me in the McDonald's. And she said she'd seen me up here at this place. And it was Gertrude Bill. And Gertrude said, she sat down and we started talking. And she told me about this here auction. And she said, and it was all going for the church. And I said, I know a thing or two about giving to the church. And she said, well, why didn't I come up here and tell y'all? And I said I'd think about it, and I did. And I got to thinking, I decided maybe I ought to come up here and make sure it was going to be all right with the preacher and the deacons and who all ever was in charge up here. So I came on over here from the McDonald's before I took my bus home. And you know, I never will forget the first time I came over here. I came to go to that big sale y'all have downstairs. And I doubt if you realize what a blessing it is to find something a body can afford. I really appreciate it. Y'all do a good job on that. First time I came, though, I might near walked on by because it doesn't really look like any church I'm that familiar with. But I found it, and I came on up here a little while back to look for the preacher, and I came in and I saw, I believe it was Miss Ellen Kepchar just bustling down the hall, toting a pile of books, and I asked her where I might could find the preacher. She said, y'all didn't really have a preacher. Said, that's not what you called it. Said, you called it, did I mean the pastoral minister? And I said, I reckon I did. And she said, took me over there to Mr. Bill's, and I talked to him, and I kind of saw what she meant. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a real nice feller, but he don't really act like any preacher that I've really had much to do with. In fact, to be truthful with you, I like him a sight better than I do most of those preachers on TV. Well, to any of them, to tell you the truth. Well, I asked him, was it all right if I came? And he said, yes, sure it was. And I reckon he didn't want to make out that Gertrude had got ahead of herself to ask me. But he said to come on, so I'm here. Now before I go on, let me tell you, I ain't no preacher either. I like to think I'm a good person. And I believe what I believe real strong because I've seen what the Lord can do, but I still ain't no preacher. Now I reckon that's okay with you folks up here because Gertrude and some of the rest of the folks I've seen have told me that any time a person's got a message heavy on their heart to tell, why they can just up and tell it. So I like that kind of way of doing, so here I am. All right. Well, I'll get right to it. I came up here to talk about giving. Now, y'all having this auction here tonight, and I know some about the Bible and what it says about giving. I declare as I get older, I can't quote things like as I could. I know God loves a cheerful giver. But I swan if I could tell you where that comes from. Oh, is it all right to swan in a church like this? Anyway, and I know that it says, cast your bread upon the waters and it'll come back to you manyfold. It says somewhere, I believe it's in Malachi. I remember one time where the Lord got right worked up and he was awfully aggravated about how stingy people were being and how to where he felt like he's been robbed. And the Lord said, just go on and test me. Bring in your tithes and offerings to the church and see if I don't open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings to where you won't even have room for all of it. Now, much as I like the idea of seeing the windows of heaven opened up and blessings poured out, I ain't here to talk about tithes either. Because it looks like to me that Jesus came along to kind of get away from some of that legal stuff, some of that tit for tat, I'll do for you and you do for me, and we'll test God out and all that way of doing. I think Jesus would agree with something I've heard tell, and that is, you cannot buy a blessing. Now you think about it. A body cannot buy a blessing. if you really want to give something, it really doesn't have anything to do with what you think you're going to give back. Not real giving, not real deep down sincere giving. Oh, I know in the New Testament too it says, give and you shall receive. But real giving, even that doesn't seem to me like a bargaining thing from God, like He's trying to say, you got an IOU or something coming. Real giving really don't ever take away from having enough. It says, sow and you shall reap. Sow more and you reap more. Now folks, that's just the way nature works. I have worked a garden way yonder too much to know that ain't no mystery. You sow and then you reap. That's just the way the world works. It might be a miracle, but it ain't no mystery. You give not because you're going to get back. You don't give to the church so that you can get a blessing. You give and you will get a blessing. Ain't no way around it. Now, what kind of blessing are you going to get? Well, I think you ought to start by just looking around. We got lights on in this building. The heat feels pretty good. The books are in the classrooms. You got somebody to keep the place clean. You got Miss Bonnie down there in the office. You got a real nice looking fella to lead the choir. You got all these kinds of things. I'm told that this here meeting gives money to organizations all the time that they want to help out so they'll keep it going. And I reckon that means these organizations mean something to you. Shoot, I've even heard that y'all invite the homeless people to come up here and stay a couple of times a year. Now, you got a chance here to say, do I want to belong to a group that does that? Oh, that reminds me, I was watching TV the other night, and an old movie came on from that little silly little fella, big old glasses, short fella that, anyway, made lots of silly movies. And this one started out, and he said at the very beginning, I would never want to belong to a club that would have someone like me as a member. Well, I turned the set off and just thought about that, and I thought, what you belong to does say something about you. And ain't nobody else can tell you what it means to you to belong to a group that does the kinds of things that this here church, meeting place, does. So, you have to figure it out yourself. Now, that makes me think of my granddaughter. When she went to college, she had a teacher that did something I've thought about since. She said her favorite teacher said, the first day of class, I want everybody to come to my office and get acquainted. Now, in my day, you didn't want to go to the teacher's office. It's too much like going to see the principal. But she went, and you know what that teacher said to her? Before she could get sat down good, that teacher said, leaned right across the desk and said, what makes you tick? What makes you tick? Well, I've thought a lot about that. And I think if you look around here and see the kinds of things that these people are giving up for the sake of their church, you might could guess some of the things that make some of these folks tick. Singing, to be able to sing like an angel, and to be willing to teach somebody else, or to do yard work, or teach somebody to sew, or make jewelry, and to be able to rake the yard, oh Lord, and to do it for a neighbor. That means a lot. Now you folks that's going to make bids on this stuff tonight, you got a chance right now to ask yourself, how much of my precious money am I willing to part with so that my friend's gift can mean the most it can mean? Well, how much? Now I'm going to be quiet just a minute. I understand you folks tell a lot of story quietness. But I want you to think for a minute about what you could do and what you think this here auction ought to be able to raise for the meeting place. Maybe $1,000? Think about it just a minute. Well, Did you think about a number? Now I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. I want you to double it in your mind. I want you to double what you think this auction could bring and what you could do. And think about the blessings that it would give to this place. But now I'm going to tell you my real thing. I doubt very much, when all is said and done, that this place is going to have to turn out the lights or let some workers go or quit being good to this town. It's not really what good it's going to do them. The real one that's going to get a blessing from digging deep and giving up your money is you. And you know that. If giving has always done more good for the person giving than it does the one they're giving to. And y'all, I mean now. I mean tonight. I don't mean some IOU way down yonder at the line. I mean tonight. When you go home and it's bedtime tonight and you brushing your teeth or looking in the mirror, you can say, I'm not sure I know what all makes me tick. But I know a good clue to it is how I feel about what I did today. I helped out New Garden meeting, and I feel good, and I'm going to sleep good tonight. I say, live by the 3 G's, and it doesn't have nothing to do with those little bitty phones that the youngins can't do without. The 3 G's are grace, gratitude, and generosity. You'll get a blessing for sure. Well, I'm not going to say don't let this meeting down. I'm going to say don't let yourself down. Don't let yourself down. See what you can do. See how good it'll make you feel. You get a blessing for it. Well, to claim to be no preacher, I have gone on long enough. Swanee, I'm going to have to get on. They start giving out the supper at my place along about now, and so I'm going to have to go. Y'all come see me at the McDonald's. I'm there most weekday mornings. And I thank you for letting me say my piece here tonight. I thank you for listening. I don't mind telling you, it's the truth. So y'all